Starting your day off with a take on Vegas you won't get anywhere else.
Hi, I'm Holly Madison, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hi, this is William Shatner, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and I listen to Brian Shapiro. Why? Because I'm a good American. So is he. And if you don't listen to him, you need to pack up and leave this country.
This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Come on, guys!
Radio, here we go. Protect yourself at all times. We are on it. Ron Futrell in here with Susie Draney tonight from Draney Insurance.
Hello, hello. Thanks for having me back.
We have a busy day. Susie, how's your afternoon gone? Has it been crazy?
It's gone a little crazy, right? I've heard the news. What's in the news, Ron? You're the news guy. You tell me.
There's a coach that is long gone now from UNLV, Marvin Menzies, and was predicted. By the way, the first to break that story was Brian Shapiro, did it last night from the Vegas Take, and he is on the line with us now. He's over at the Thomas & Mack Center with the latest and the greatest. I know Desiree Reed-Francois, the athletic director, had a news conference. I watched it from the TV station I was at. Brian, give us the latest. Tell us what's going on.
Well, Ron, I hope you can hear me okay, first of all.
We got
in
you.
the Thomas & Mack Center. Can you hear me all right?
We got you.
Great. Yeah. Well, obviously, as you mentioned, Ron, last night, received some information from a few sources I had that, Marvin Menzies was going to be let go. And I was told by Saturday, so they did it earlier today. And Francois just had a press conference, and she looked she looked like someone who'd had a really, really bad day. Let's put it that way. And she basically thanked Marvin Menzies, but said in a nutshell, he just didn't win here, and they need somebody that can win, that can compete for championships, Mountain West Conference championships, get into the NCAA tournament. So, I certainly support the decision, but at the same time, I find it hard to believe that they haven't even looked at hiring a coach,
Really?
until
You
now.
find it that hard to believe, Brian? I mean,
Well,
come on
that's
now.
true.
This is UNLV.
That's true, but I got to give her more credit than what she's. I find it hard to believe that she just all of a sudden made this decision today, and she wasn't looking for a head coach a month ago or 2 months ago. They hired a firm to help them in the coaching search, and my sources tell me that Mike Miller is a name that has come up. Also,
Susie, okay, hold on. Susie, what do you think? Mike,
I think Mike would be a great.
What's the history, Mike Miller? Explain the history here with UNLV.
So his brother coached for Rice, Coach Ryan
Todd.
Miller.
Ryan, sorry.
Yeah. So there's obviously some connection there that Mike would probably be interested in the job, but he's never had a head coaching job before, so I don't know if that's a risk that she would be willing to take.
Yeah, I think it's a very risky, hire, but at the same time, I think Ryan Miller, obviously he's got a ton of experience and he'd do a great job recruiting, but that's just one name out there. There's several names out there. My sources also tell me that Eric Musselman would take this job for the right money. So that's obviously Nevada's playing right now in the Mountain West Conference tournament, but
what's the right money?
1.2.
Well, I think that would be a great hire.
Oh no, it'd be a great hire if we could.
Yeah.
First of all, you steal him from Reno.
Well,
and
right.
didn't they do that with Rice? Like when we fired Rice, didn't Rice go up there and work for him?
He did go
for
up.
a
That's
little
right.
bit,
He
and
did
we had
go
to
up
pay out
there.
his contract. Yeah.
Yes, and we did it with a football coach years ago. Jeff Horton came down here. He was an assistant coach for Chris Holt. This goes way back, and came here and was football coach for 5 years, and that really made him mad. Up at Nevada Reno, which is really called Nevada, but you get it. We still call it Reno down here. Okay, so let's go back to the press conference today. She was, first of all, the athletic director. What's she been here? 2 years, maybe.
Correct.
She does very little media. She avoids the media. She runs from the media. She hides from. She does everything she can to not be in front of the media.
No, I'm
Yeah. Well, and it showed today when she had to be in front of the media. She was nervous and scared, and it was not pleasant to even watch. Really, was it?
It wasn't. She didn't look like she was having a very good time, and like I said, she looked like she had a pretty rough day, to say the least. And she said she spoke with Marvin Menzies this morning. Then she spoke with the team and spoke with his staff. So it's a difficult job to be an athletic director, but at the same time, I think this is the toughest decision she's made in her career thus far.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Regardless of who they hire, and I don't know who they're going to hire, but this is the right decision. Anyone who understands basketball, anyone who sees where the UNLV program has been going in the last several years, anyone logical that's not biased would say this was the right job. You got to let this guy go. We need a personality. We need somebody in here that could get the fans excited.
I think we need someone that would bring the community back together. And my vote.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, but I think attendance was at least half of the reason why they let Menzies go. I mean, there's just nobody showing up to games. So this was not a surprise. I mean, on the Vegas Take, myself, JD, we've been talking about this all year long. In fact, I've been saying it for 2 years that not necessarily that Menzies is a bad coach. I don't think I've ever said that, but he's just not the right guy for this job. He was never the right guy for this job. He was the 5th or 6th choice by UNLV for this job. And now you got to make a good hire. I mean, just as important as letting Menzies go, it's just as important as making the right hire, if not more important. So the next week or two is going to be very interesting. I expect they're going to make a decision very soon.
I would like to see Kevin Kruger get the opportunity to come back here and coach and build a program and kind of do what his dad did for us. Just get back into the community. I feel like he has a strong following here. He went to school here. I think he'd be really, really good. I think going after a top name isn't going to bring the Vegas community back to UNLV. You're going to need to bring in someone that actually wants to talk to the press, is comfortable with the press, wants to be around the fans, you know, really loves and lives the program.
What do you think?
I don't necessarily disagree with what you said, but I am leaning towards the fact that they are going to hire somebody that's never been a head coach before.
Yeah.
You know, again, not that I disagree with what you're saying, but I just don't really see that happening. I think they're going to hire somebody like a Thad Matta. I think Thad Matta is probably the front runner right now. A Thad Matta or a Steve Alford, somebody like that. And again, not that I would not support Kevin Kruger getting the job here. Not that I wouldn't support Mike Miller. I just don't see them making that kind of hire. But maybe I'm wrong.
Now,
maybe I'm wrong.
Thad Matta, very successful in 13 seasons at Ohio State. Took them to 5 Big Ten championships. They were perennially in the NCAA tournament. Performed well when they got there. He knew what he was doing. He had won 73% of his games at Ohio State, but left 2 years ago because of a bad back. Had some health problems, and so that's one of the issues that's going to come up, certainly. But if he's given the all clear and had a couple of years off to heal, what do you think? Yeah, Thad Matta, that's what people are talking about there?
I think, I think a lot of the fan base, you know, look, the guy's been to the Final Four a couple times, so obviously that's a big bonus. You know, he's got the experience. He's been there before. I guess my feeling is any of these names that we're bringing up would be better than what we've had. Let's just leave it at that. I give Francois credit for making the right decision. Now she's got to make a good hire. That's part of being an athletic director. But this is a step in the right direction. You know, a lot of people that have supported Marvin Menzies have said, hey, the program's moving in the right direction. No, it wasn't. The program has not been moving in the right direction. In fact, it's been the opposite. To me, this is the first step, the absolute first step, as far as the program moving in the right direction, and that is getting rid of Marvin Menzies and starting from scratch.
Yeah, and okay, you mentioned Steve Alford had limited success at New Mexico and at UCLA, but okay, here's the problem you're going to have with, well, it's just me and a handful of crazy old people are going to have with Steve Alford. 1987, I was at that Final Four in New Orleans when he could not miss from 3 and kept hitting shot over shot and knocked the Rebels out of the NCAA tournament that year. No, in fact, that's a reason you probably should hire him. We're over that now because he was a very good player for Indiana, has that history, was under Bobby Knight back in the day with what he did. But whenever his name comes up, I have to remember that time and that game. And how tough it was for Rebel fans back then. But they just kept setting double and triple screens for him, and he could not miss from 3 and just went off against the Rebels. So he's got some history with UNLV. Not some great history, but that history with UNLV.
Yeah, no question. I wouldn't be big on getting Steve Alford here. The reason being is, you know, even though he did do a good job at New Mexico, I don't think he's a great basketball coach. So me personally, I would rather have Thad here rather than Steve Alford. That's just me. But, again, the important thing is that...
Do you think Thad will come in and, I mean, the guy's been in retirement for a couple of years. He's just, like, probably playing golf, away from the scene, you know, come in and look at the show that is UNLV and be like, Chris Bearden us and getting right out.
I went into this mess.
Yeah.
Well, that is a good point.
That's a fear that you're going to have to, you know, talk to these coaches about. Like, yeah, you are walking into a whole different kind of community that the Rebels have. They've lost half their fan base. There's no more funding. Like, how do you recruit these kids to come here? Like, that's it.
Well, you know what I don't like? I don't like it when people say, well, fans not showing up. It has very little to do with Marvin Menzies. I could not disagree with that more. It's got almost everything to do with Marvin Menzies. I don't think he was out in the community enough. Yeah. He didn't win games here. He didn't excite the fan base. So I truly believe that you get a good coach in here that's out in the community, that's a personality, and that wins. I certainly think that the fans will come back. I really, truly believe that in my heart. And so by the way, for people out there wondering, well, where's Brian? How come he's not in studio? I'm actually
you're still in the closet.
In the Thomas and Mack Center. Yeah, I'm in the Thomas and Mack Center, Nevada.
You are on assignment. You are on assignment.
Yes.
Come on now. That's what it is. It's Brian's on assignment tonight.
It's exciting to watch.
We redecorated in here. It looks so good.
No, it really is. Susie has really made the place look and smell nice.
Well, let me first of all say I appreciate both of you guys filling in for me. You guys are doing a great job. You did a good job earlier when you filled in, so I appreciate
I think we just do like an okay job, not enough to really threaten your job. So you're like, just bring them back on.
No, you guys do a great job, and I appreciate it. I'm going to get back here onto the court.
Okay.
What's on tap there tonight? What's going on? Give us the laydown.
Right now, Nevada's playing San Diego State in the first semifinal game. It's a 10-9 game early on, and then in the second game, which is going to be a real good one, Utah State plays Fresno.
Oh boy!
So, and the finals are tomorrow, so it'll be should be a lot of fun.
All right, Brian.
Well, thank you.
A lot going on there. You're on the pulse, and congrats on breaking the story last night.
Thank you, Ron. I appreciate that. You guys have some fun. I'll be listening.
All right.
Bye, Brian.
There we go. On assignment, Brian Shapiro, the Vegas Take, the latest and the greatest from what's going on here with the UNLV situation. I'm Ron Futrell, Susie Draney here. Draney Insurance. Go ahead. Give a number out. Throw a number out.
Give my phone number out.
No, yes. Why not? You're coming in.
It's 702-984-7297.
That's not your personal number. That's your work number.
It's my work number.
And if you want to go...
I didn't know it was that kind of show. I didn't know we were on here to get me some dates.
Or dates or appointments or meetings.
Insurance.
We are going to talk some insurance stuff. That'll be really exciting for people.
Super exciting. You guys know when to tune out, right?
But here's what we got. Our phone number, by the way, is 702-257-5396. Well, wide open. We'll talk about anything and everything that you want. Give us a buzz.
Everything.
You must go to my Twitter page if you're curious what Susie looks like. That is
I have my own Twitter page.
At Ron Futrell.
Draney Insurance, at Draney Insurance.
Or you can go to her Draney Insurance and see it there. She has what they call an avatar. I've heard.
No,
it's
like
you. It's you. You are your avatar. Well, we're all airbrushed a little bit, aren't we? I hope. But with that going on here, a lot going on with what's happening with UNLV today. And the idea of Eric Musselman is fascinating to think, he's the coach at Reno right now.
And then he comes down.
It's extremely successful. They would be so angry.
And I do like to piss off the Reno people, so
well,
why not?
When you're in Vegas, you have to.
Reno is going to light up with all of her Reno colors.
Well, Reno, when it gets dark, the signal starts bouncing all over the West, and we will get some Reno calls. So, Scott.
I think we should just drive her.
Scott is on line 17. What's up, Scott?
Hi, Scott.
Good. So, when an AD hires a search firm, I always say that it's their way. If things don't work out, they can always say, well, I didn't make the hire. The search firm recommended this person.
Absolutely. It's plausible deniability. You have another level of it could be, yes. Ultimately, I wouldn't as a reporter, I wouldn't let the AD get away with that and say, ultimately it's your decision. Your search firm should act as a consultant to go out there and try to find people.
I mean, did TKM hire a search firm when she was like
Tina Kunzer Murphy?
Yeah, did she hire one for Menzies?
Well, no, that was the second part of my calling in, not to interrupt you. We'll see how good Desiree Reed-Francois is. She's always been a little too much of a diva and a little ditzy, and that came through today. Nick Cronin played Kunzer Murphy like a puppet, right? The only reason he got on a plane to come out here was to get a bigger salary.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
Desiree Reed-Francois lays an egg on this hire and brings the guys who have no intention of taking the job. Somebody's got to call her out on it.
Well,
that's what we do. That's what I'll do.
Our job.
I've been here. Scott, how long have you been in Vegas? How long?
15 years.
15 years? I've been here 35 years, so I've seen Rebel basketball. I have the benefit and burden of history. That's my problem. I say it as a problem.
We got to see it up close a lot this year.
Because there was nobody else at the games. And so what she got right, here's what she said during the press conference. And by the way, I expected her to be just as nervous and as frightened as she was because she doesn't avail herself to media opportunities. She has very little media experience, and that has been her decision for the last 2 years. She is very difficult to reach. She won't do interviews. She very, very rarely does interviews. Anyway.
Why does she play hard to get, man?
She does play very hard to get. She's a gal. She's a gal. Okay, Scott, but here's my thoughts. She mentioned the status of Rebel basketball here in this community, which I was sitting there rolling my eyes going, okay, you've been here for 2 years. Yeah. Let me sit down and chat with you about what the status of Rebel basketball is or should be in this community. Anyway, she says we have a great arena. She's right about that. I've always said that. I've said four reasons Rebel basketball should work here. We have a great arena, tremendous facilities, second to none really at this level and on a big-time level. Great facilities. Number 2, we have a great city. And that's a tremendous recruiting. We're not Washington State, and you have to recruit to the Palouse, okay, in Pullman, Washington. Number 3, a great fan base that's chomping at the bit to try to return and want to come back to Rebel basketball. They're not, but they would love to. She mentioned those 3 things. She did not mention the 4th thing that I like mentioning all the time, is we have a tremendous history of success here. We have that history. We have banners up there. We have a banner up there for a national championship from a small school in a small conference that was able to do that and beat Duke 103-73. I know I'm living in the past right now, but that's important. That history part. It's how many schools in the West have that sort of history? UCLA, us in Arizona, maybe. That's it.
I grew up in the Bay Area, and you had 20 years ago, you had people saying the University of San Francisco needs to get back to the 1950s. It's
Bill
past.
Russell? Yeah.
Like Bill Russell and Casey Jones, those guys are 87 years old. Well,
They're wrong, age.
There's people in San Francisco that the University of San Francisco should win national championships. UNLV guys, come on, we got to be realistic. They're not winning a national
we should
championship
definitely
unless they hire somebody and say you can cheat as much as you want.
No,
guys, do whatever you want.
And I'm not saying they should even
Felicity
get back.
Huffman. We know she's a cheater. We can hire her right away.
You guys understand that?
What do you think?
Ron, right?
Hey,
they
Scott.
Can't make it to the second round of the Mountain West tournament.
Yeah. I think we should hire
hold on.
Felicity Huffman and Lori.
Laughlin or something.
Laughlin. They know how to run a business.
They
and
cheat.
Get
They
cheating
recruit.
Done.
They could get athletes. Now
Let's
they're not
Desperate Housewife this program and see what happens.
They know how to get people admitted to college.
Yeah.
Okay, that otherwise shouldn't.
Exactly.
So, but Scott,
can you imagine if we turn them loose on men's basketball?
And I'm not saying they could get back to a national championship. Tark took them to 3 Final Fours in 5 years. Tark was 60-3 his last 2 years here, so just had a tremendous record. So that's not even the standard anymore. Let's get back to the tournament at some point, especially when you're playing in a crappy conference like the Mountain West.
The easiest conference.
The NIT tournament. They can't make that either.
Oh well, you're right. Haven't been to postseason since 2013.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time.
And who was the coach then when we went to that?
I don't know. Was it Kruger?
Yeah, it was
2013.
Kruger. Yeah, get his son here, please. Come on, people,
Kevin?
listen.
No, I wouldn't.
I know that they don't want to give it.
Scott, who do you think? Who would you like to see come coach UNLV?
Kid's got a record longer than you want to investigate. Hoiberg's the safe hire, I guess, but they got to pay him. Let's see if they can come up with that money.
How about Rick Pitino?
He's got a lot of outstanding. He could still get just that blitz by the NCAA, right? I mean, he's still looking at serious sanctions.
Catch us if you can. Thank you. No, I'm saying Desiree Reed Francois would not hire Rick Pitino. That's not going to happen. That is as much
then
as
she would actually have to talk to the media all the time.
Or
she'd be like, I gotta explain what he was doing last night at the Cosmo.
or she would have to run and hide. She would have to be. Oh, she's out of town again. She's in Bermuda. Oh, okay, again. She's okay.
She can't hear. She's at the Rebels swim team final.
Why didn't you answer the call? I had no cell service on the Cook Islands.
Yeah.
Come on. Our phone number 702-257-5396. Who would you like to see come into UNLV and coach? Big news today with Marvin Menzies being let go after just 3 years as Rebel basketball coach. His contract was $3.5 million over 5 years, so he'll be paid for 2 more years to not coach at UNLV, but that's not a substantial contract that they're going to have to eat, so to speak. And
do you feel like, though, he was kind of set up for failure?
Oh, he
absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
yes.
We need to trace back to who did all of this, and it is Tina Kuhn, and she's still working at UNLV. Like, how does that lady still have a job?
Yeah, the issue it was the way that Dave Rice was let go was a problem during midseason.
We're first to fire, last to hire. Like,
yes,
I mean,
that was a mess. You were trying to get the advantage by firing Dave Rice early on a coach. That didn't happen, and then of course the Mick Cronin thing when he came here, and
then Chris Beard.
Chris Beard took the job.
Yeah, and then said nope.
A week later, Texas Tech opens up, and he says, "You know what? Not so much.
Not so
I'm
much."
out of here." Well, and I'll tell you what one of the problems was with Chris Beard. What turned him off from UNLV, besides the fact that he had the Texas Tech, his dream job open up, and he's done very well there.
Yes.
By the way,
Nice, yeah.
he's rocked that. The Red Raiders are rocking right now.
Yeah.
Okay, that's Sammy Hagar's song, I think. Anyway, what I think rightly so pissed him off the most is when he came here and the Board of Regents were going over his salary, and it was very contentious amongst the regents. Regents were going back and forth over the salary and the amount of it. They eventually approved it, but it was a painful process. Here is the problem at number one, at a public university, number two, at this public university. The regents are all politicians. 7 of them, they have to get elected, so they are looking at votes. They are looking to grandstand when they get the light shining on them on this sort of situation when it's hiring a new basketball coach. They lose their minds.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it collectively as a group. They lose their minds, and they all start grandstanding and trying to make a case for it's too much for a coach, and how can we pay that much, and we have students, and how about our tuition's going up, and we are a university first and foremost, and we okay, blah blah blah. Okay, I get it that you sort of are supposed to educate students,
right,
on the side.
Barely.
Okay, we're going to have some comments about that and university admissions, because that's sort of been in the news later in the show, so we'll have some stuff on that. But okay, my point is, this is the role that academics play, the role that athletics plays on a university campus is essential to the experience. Yeah. It is critical. It is important. It does create unity. Okay, let's go here. What have we felt this year with the Vegas Golden Knights? And last season,
community.
A sense
of, it's amazing. Like, you are texting your friends, are you watching the game? And when the Golden Knights first were announced, I thought, okay, yeah, it'll be fun. I'll never watch a game. I'll never race home from work to watch a game. And now I'm like, oh, the Knights are on. Like, you schedule your life around that. And you know, UNLV basketball used to be like that. You used to go, and there was like a sense of community. You would see people, groups of just different people would show up to this, and now you go to a UNLV game, and it's literally just me and Ron.
Oh, there's a game tonight?
No, I think
there's
they
a game?
lost yesterday.
Oh, yeah, they don't play today. Oh, yeah, I didn't know. Okay. Yeah, my phone, I got alerts on my phone, and my phone won't even tell me anymore.
But I think it all comes down to their marketing department, too. I mean, if you go to other college campuses, you see these kids in all of their campus gear. If you walk around UNLV, you don't see kids in UNLV gear. You don't see that, like, love and appreciation for their college. And that's because we as a community and UNLV as a school is not building that together and bringing these kids together.
Yeah, it didn't used to be like that.
No, it didn't.
It didn't. And again, I'm Grandpa Ron going back to the glory days of Rebel basketball. And you're exactly right. People would plan their weekends around the 1 o'clock start on CBS against Oklahoma and Billy Tubbs, and Tark's team's undefeated go up against an undefeated Oklahoma team, and you would invite the friends over. You would have a barbecue. You would get your lawn mowed, and you would plan your weekend around that game, that day, that time. Then, when the team went on the road, nobody traveled better than UNLV.
Yeah,
they travel, and it was fun.
It is one of the easiest. Like, the flights here to go see a Rebel game somewhere else are, $59 on Southwest. It's not like they're changing time zones or having anything like that. You just get to go and have a good time. But you don't see that. The students aren't involved in the program, and whoever they hired needs to have a direct relationship with the students. So the students build the program is what I would suggest.
Ding, ding. All right. Okay, with Susie Draney. You got the voice, the marvelous voice of Susie Draney right there. Myself, I'm Ron Futrell. We are here in the Vegas Take for Brian Shapiro, who's on assignment right now at college basketball, because we're a college basketball madhouse right now. Our phone number is 702-257-5396. We'll talk about any subject you want, by the way. It's wide open.
Well, maybe not.
Susie will have to screen those calls. Okay, if you want to talk to her about that, that's up to you. But anyway, we're going to take a quick break. Be right back. Johnny, thanks.